Hey mamas, you are listening to the Motherhood is Ghetto podcast. We all know motherhood can be a beautiful thing, but girl, it can also be ghetto. Join me as we discuss some of the best and worst parts of being a mom raising kids, all while trying to figure out this thing called life. This ghetto is a safe space, mamas. So welcome to the hood. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy, and how y'all doing out there? If y'all doing all right, you already know what to say. Say amen, amen, amen. I pray you are having a great day and a great week so far. And I'm excited because today my son, my youngest son, he has a guitar concert. He's currently in beginning guitar. That's one of his classes. And they have a little winter concert today. So I'm excited to go see him play. And he is definitely like not the musician out of the group. So this is gonna be interesting. But one thing I do know about my son is a very fast learner, and he can do whatever whatever you put in front of him, he gonna do it. And he gonna learn it and he gonna execute and then move on with life. But I'm super excited to hear him play and just so proud of him. So proud of him for having an open mind because he is definitely a sports type of kid. He's not into music at all. So I really am proud of him for just stepping outside of his comfort zone and doing this. So it should be fun. So I'm looking forward to it and I'm excited. So that's why I'm smiley, I'm geeky, because and it ain't even until this evening, but I'm still excited about it. So but anyway, I hope you guys are having a great day. This episode, I'm going to be sharing some of my biggest mistakes while being a mom. And one day I was thinking of just all the things that in my eyes, I felt like I did wrong while raising my kids. And I'm trying to make amends for that now in certain ways. Of course, some mistakes like I can't go back, but ultimately I'm trying to be a better mom to them. At the same time trying to be a better person. So I was like, I want to look back and see how far I've come as a mom, as a woman, so that way I can find some encouragement in the things I'm doing and kind of reflect on how our lives have changed, how I've changed, and the effect that it's had on my family. So I took some time to write down some of the things that I thought that were big mistakes that I made while raising my kids. And also, too, you already know everything that I do is to encourage you mamas out there that may be feeling like you can't get nothing right, that everything you do is just terrible, or it's not the right thing, or it's not the best thing for your kid. Just know that we all make mistakes. I feel like there's a time in motherhood where we all are just going to fail. Like we all are just going to go through that point in our life and in motherhood where it's like, damn, I cannot get this right. Like everything that I try, everything that I do, like it's just not working. And I feel like that at that point in motherhood is where like we're trying to get our bearings and we're trying to like it's like a testing phase. Like we're seeing like what works, what doesn't work, and trying to make sense of everything. And I think we all go through it. So most of these mistakes that I wrote down was when I was going through that period when I really was just winging it and not really doing anything for any rhyme or reason, just kind of going with the flow or going with what I thought I knew about being a mom and what was shown to me about being a mom. Um, but ultimately some things just didn't work for me. So I had to pivot and I had to redirect and really want to do the work to get better and to be a better mom, or at least like in my eyes, like be a better mom and do better for my kids. So I got my little handy dandy notebook. Amen. So I'm going to share with you guys some of the things that I wrote down as far as some of my biggest mistakes that I've made during my motherhood journey. Amen. This is a safe space. So I don't need nobody judging me. But that's okay because, like I said, we all make mistakes. And as long as we learn from them, then that's all that matters. Amen. So, my first biggest mistake during my motherhood journey, and I've talked about this before, I've said it a million times. The way that I mismanaged my money, my finances as a younger mother, like I cringe at some of the things that I did. Like when it came to money, when it came to spending, just I just I when I look back, like I be so disappointed in myself. I'm like, Joy, like how could you have done that? And I'm not talking, well, I am talking about like, just buying things we didn't need, buying things the kids didn't need, and not saving and planning, stuff like that. But also too, because of the choices that I made, like with my money and finances, like of course, like that led to bad credit, which led to not being able to provide like safe or ideal living conditions for my kids. And when I look back on it, I'm like, like I love my kids so much. Like even then, like I loved my kids to death and I love them now. And it's like when I look back, I'm like, how could I have put them in those type of situations? And at the time, it just felt like me doing what I had to do, like to keep a roof over our head or, to keep us, you know, where we were at least like had a home. But a lot of that could have been avoided, and because of my mistakes, we had to settle a lot. We had to settle for living in places we really didn't wanna live, under conditions that, like, we shouldn't have been living in, and just not educating myself about money and the proper way to manage money, and really, like, thinking, like, not in the moment, but for the long term. I think that really messed me up because I really didn't consider things like planning for my kids' future, planning for my own future. I was robbing myself frequently, like dipping into my 401k, like robbing my future self because my current self couldn't get it together. My current self couldn't manage her money, couldn't manage what was going in and out of the household, and lost control. So that will go down as my biggest mistake. And I've learned from it. Amen. And I feel like I'm doing better now. I'm more educated than I ever was. And I'm actually taking the steps to make sure like my financial future is secure, my kids' financial future is secure, and we're actually planning for the future, planning for a rainy day, making sure that we're never in a spot where we're struggling like that again. And yeah, that'll just go down in history as the biggest mistake that I made during motherhood. And I kick myself every time because when I think about it, I'm like, we could be so much more further. Like we could be so much more ahead had I just been smart instead of dumb. Amen. Like, and sometimes it's just that's just what it is. Like I was dumb. I was dumb with money and I didn't want to take the time to educate myself and I didn't want better for myself. Like I imagined better for myself, but I really didn't do the work. So me not doing the work to me equates as me not really wanting it, when that's what me and my family deserved. Like, we definitely deserved way better. So, but still not denying the blessing, because it was a blessing that, we had a place to live and stuff, and and God kept us. Amen. So, when it did seem like rent wasn't going to get paid or food wasn't going to be bought, like, God always made a way and provided a way. So for that, I am grateful. But a lot of that I put on myself. I brought that to myself. So God was like, girl, I need you to get it together. Like, I'm gonna help you, but I need you to get it together. So yeah, that's one of my biggest mistakes for sure. Another mistake that I feel like I've made over the course of motherhood, and sometimes this still does happen, and once I realize it, I definitely correct. And that's assuming my kids know better. So it we can, as parents and as moms, it is our job to raise our children, model what it means to be like a good person, a good friend, a good partner. Like, we model all that stuff for our kids, and some of the first things that they learn about relationships and stuff like that, friendships, is what they see inside of their homes. So how they see you interact with friends, how they see you interact with your partner, like, they're getting that firsthand account from us. So I think the mistake that I made was when my kids were finally out in the world and going to school and interacting with people. Like, I've never taught my kid to hate other kids, and I've never taught my kid to be mean to other kids. So I assume that when they go out into the world, they won't be mean and they won't hate other kids. But for some things, you really have to spell it out. And you can't assume that because you're not that way, that your kid won't be that way. Because there is definitely power in influence. And you're not the only one that's influencing your child. Your child now, these days, your child has a million people influencing them via social media if your child is on social media. And it's up to us not to assume that our children can always discern what they see and what's influencing them, discern it right from wrong or good from bad. Like, we can't always assume that they'll know unless we actually teach them, like, verbalize it. Ask them, like, hey, what do you feel about this? Or when you're at school, how do you deal with this? And me and Solomon have these talks a lot because Solomon encounters very unique situations at school. So instead of me assuming that, well, I've always taught my son to do right, so he's going to do right. I can't always assume that because my son is now coming into adolescence. He has different feelings and emotions, and I'm not with him 24/7 to be able to help him regulate that. So I can't always assume that he'll act on the best and goodest intentions. And just to give an example while we're on the topic of Solomon. So the other day he was at school and he texted me and said that him and another student got into a little scuffle. Nothing big, nothing major. Like, the teacher separated them, like, they talked it out, they apologized to each other, and then, they went on with their school day. But he said that there was the kid that he got into the scuffle with was teasing and making fun of one of his friends. So Solomon stepped in and was like, hey, like, you need to stop. Like, don't do that. Like, basically, he's sticking up for his friend. And then so the guy who's doing the teasing and the bullying turns his attention to Solomon and starts hitting on Solomon. So in self-defense, Solomon, hits him back. And then so they're going back and forth. And then so another student gets a teacher, and then the teacher breaks it up, all that good stuff. So when I got home later on and me and my son sat down and talked about it, I wanted him to know that one, he wasn't wrong for how he was feeling about his friend being made fun of or bullied or messed with. Because one thing that I do verbalize and teach my kids is how to be empathetic and to care about other people. I don't assume that he cares. I know that he cares about other people because it's something that we've talked about. I've taught him how to show empathy. So I wanted him to know that I wasn't upset or anything with him empathizing and feeling what his friend was going through and wanting to stick up for his friend. But what I wanted him to realize is that not every situation calls for you to be physical, to hit anyone, like, and helping him to discern when it's a time for that. Because I know a lot of people probably thinking, well, the kid hit him, so he should defend himself. But there's one thing that I always take into account, and I always want Solomon to take into account, is that Solomon's bigger than the average bear. Solomon's bigger than a lot of kids. And when I asked him, like, how big was that kid compared to you? He said he wasn't big at all. So to me, I'm like, son, you have to be able to discern when to pick your battles. Because how would that have looked? You and this kid are going back and forth. You hit him and you really hurt him because you're bigger than him. That's not going to play out well. And they say, like, well, you were just defending yourself when you really hurt him. So we have to be able to teach our kids, show them, verbalize it, how to make those decisions and how to know when's a good time for, this and when's a good time for that. And helping them to understand that not not everything like not everything is just black and white. Like just because he hit you it's not automatic like self-defense. Like you have to look at the situation. Like who's around you? Are his friends around you? Are they gonna all jump in like once y'all get to tussling? Like those are things that like he has to be aware of. And I know that he's going to encounter bullies and stuff like that. So I'm trying to teach him, that he needs to think, not assume that he's going to think out every situation like when it's happening because he's acting off pure emotion and he recognizes that. But it's my job to teach him and to verbalize when when it's okay and when it's not okay. And he gets it. He understands that. So that's just an example of in the past, like I've assumed that my kids know better. But in some cases, like they don't know better. And we can't assume that because we've modeled, good behavior or what good behavior looks like, that they automatically know what that is because we're not kids. Like they don't see us as kids in their eyes. They see us as adults. So unless they're seeing or being taught by other kids like how to behave, which in most cases they're not because most kids don't behave, like how will they know? How will they know? So that's one thing that again, like um sometimes it happens where like it'll creep in again and like I'll forget like, oh shoot, like I can't assume. Like let me make sure, let me level set with them and make sure that they understand. And it's something that I know that I've corrected more from then to now, but it's always ongoing, because you feel like in the back of your head, like you're doing what's right and you're raising them, but sometimes you just got to check back in. Sometimes you got to reevaluate level set with them to make sure that they're on the same page. And my next mistake as a mom, a mistake that I've made before, and I've made it multiple times, is prioritizing work over my kids. I hate to say that I'm guilty of it, especially when they were younger. And you know what gets me too? Is because back then I was hourly. I didn't have no real responsibilities. So I definitely could have left work. I definitely could have like called out to spend the day with my kids. Like I wasn't important. Like I wasn't an important person back then. So I definitely could have and stayed home with my kid when they were sick. You know, not miss their little performance during school hours because I had to work. Not miss my daughter's first steps like because I had to work. Like I when I was younger, for sure, I definitely prioritized work over my kids, and I hate that for me. I hate that for me. I will say that after my husband passed away, I was like, yeah, no. I'm not doing that. My kids come before everything. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. And at that time I was important. By that time I was already salary. I'm an important person and I need to be here every day if I'm not dying. But yeah, after my husband passed away, I was like, yeah, no, I need to be here for my kids. So that's one thing that my kids like can count on and guarantee is that whenever they need me, like I'm coming. I don't care where I'm at. I don't care what I'm doing. I don't care what meeting I'm in. If they call me or they text me and they say, Mom, I need you, like everything stops and I'm on my way. Um, it's just as simple as that. Like I don't entertain putting work above them anymore. Like work comes second to them always. So yeah, I'm happy to say that that's not a mistake that I make anymore, but definitely like in my early 30s, early 20s, or like pretty much when I started having kids, I prioritized work over them and just missed a lot of moments and just time that I won't get back. So I'm making sure to make the most of our time here and now so that way I don't have those feelings when they're actually grown and out the house. And I'm not sitting here in the house alone boohoo crying that I didn't spend enough time with my kids. And that the same goes for like anything they got going on, like performances, games. Like I will quickly work a half day or quickly just not go like set my PTO so that way I'm available, help them to get ready, all the good stuff. Like I just made sure that I'm here and I don't want them to ever feel like mom's always working. Like she's never here for us. And I say that because my parents were very much workaholics. Like and not anything or shade towards them because as, as kids like we had a pretty good life and our parents provided for us very well. And it's nothing that I really even resent them for. It's just that I was used to not having my parents around. I was used to being it just being me and my brothers. And I was used to it if like my mom couldn't make it to something or my dad couldn't make it to something. Like I was used to it. It didn't really bother me after a while. And I don't want that to be the experience that my kids have, especially now since it's just me. I have my mom to stand in the gap if for God forbid, like I cannot show like I just cannot be there. But um some of us don't have anyone to stand in the gap. And so that's how I take it. Like that's how I think of it is like what if I don't have anyone? Like no one can be there for them. No one can be there to cheer them on or support them. So I make it my official duty to be there. Like and I don't entrust that job to just anyone. So I want to make sure that I'm there and I'm present. But yeah, that's definitely something we don't do anymore. That's out of my system. Amen. We don't prioritize work over our kids anymore. We don't do that. This isn't a comprehensive list, amen, of all the mistakes that I've made because I'm sure I've made a lot more mistakes. Some I probably don't even remember, but these were just the most impactful mistakes that I could recall. But the last one I want to discuss is not setting boundaries, the proper boundaries. So, in case you're not aware, I consider myself to be a gentle parent. If you don't know what gentle parenting is, go ahead and do a quick Google of it. But the important thing about gentle parenting, the way that gentle parenting is effective, so that way your kids aren't running all over you and disrespecting you and not listening and obeying you. The key part to it is there has to be boundaries. And I think a lot of people shy away from gentle parenting because they think that they're going to get ran over by their kids like if they're too soft. But that's the element that's needed in gentle parenting in order for it to be successful is being able to set boundaries. And I feel like when I first started doing the gentle parenting where like I didn't have a man to follow lead for. So like my husband wasn't there to like weigh on like discipline and stuff and like rules. So it was up to me like to make the rules and to parent how I saw fit and not exactly like how he used to parent because at the end of the day I'm just a girl. Amen. Like I'm mom, so I can only do what I can do. So when I decided like I'm going to take the gentle parent approach, that was part of gentle parenting that I did not implement. I did not implement boundaries or any definitive boundaries between like what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, what I will tolerate and what I will not tolerate. I just was wanting to make sure that my kids felt safe with me, safe talking to me, stuff like that. So there were a lot of times where I needed to be stern or I needed to be more authoritative and I wasn't. So once I realized that, okay, like this isn't working, like something's missing, I realized like I don't have any firm boundaries set. I don't have the clearly drawn lines. Like this this line is here and if you cross it there will be consequences. Like that's the part that was missing. So, once I did establish those boundaries, gentle parenting's been a breeze. I don't feel like my kids run all over me. I don't feel like they take advantage of me. I don't feel like they disrespect me. Not that I don't feel, I know that they don't. Amen. And that was a mistake that I made early on when I decided that I was going to embrace gentle parenting and raise my kids as a gentle parent. But you can be a gentle parent and be firm. It's not one of these things like where you're soft and docile like all the time. Like it's definitely not like that because my kids know like when they've messed up and when mom is about to be upset. Like they know. So and sometimes Solomon is he's really great at this. So Solomon knows anytime he does something wrong, like he's just gonna come forward. He doesn't play games. Like he's not like I'm not finna wait until mom figures it out because I know if mom has to investigate and figure things out, she gonna find out other things, and I'm just gonna be upfront. So Solomon is usually the first one when he's made a mistake, he'll own it and he'll be like, "Mom, like I know I'm gonna start off by saying like I understand I was wrong, but this is the situation. This is what happened." And any type of punishment that I give him, whether I tell him no computer for a week or I lock down his phone so that way he can't do anything but call anyone or text anyone, like he understands that that's the consequence. and he's accepting of it. He doesn't try to fight me and say, well, mom, that's not fair, whoop de whoop. Like, there's none of that because you knew that you did wrong. I set clear expectations. Amen. And I set a clear boundary. And I told you that this isn't what you're supposed to do and you did it anyway. So that means that there's consequences. And I stand firm on it. Like I don't double back. I don't say, well, this time I'll let it slide. Like, no, we're not letting nothing slide. Amen. So it's just important to set those boundaries, and that's something I wasn't doing early on. But now that I do it, it's been great. Like, I don't have any issues. I'm proud to say I'm a gentle parent. It works for us, it works for me, and my kids are still disciplined and they still do what they need to do. And when they mess up, they know that there's consequences. Period. That's it. That's all. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and land the plane here. I hope that this episode helps you, encourages you, inspires you to learn from your mistakes. Any mistakes that you've made in your life or throughout motherhood, your motherhood journey, just know that we all make mistakes. Mistakes happen, but the key is to learn from them and move forward. So, thank you so much, mamas, for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with someone who you also think would enjoy it. Don't forget to follow the show. We are on Spotify. We're on Apple Podcasts. So go ahead and hit that follow button so that way you're updated every time I post an upload. Also, too, the show is on YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe button. Join the neighborhood. Leave a comment. Let me know how you like it. Let me know if there's any topics that you'd like me to cover. Also, I am on Instagram, so don't forget to follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. I post clips there. I post me and the kids there so you can keep up with us. You can also DM me there. So if you have any personal questions you want to ask me about motherhood or raising kids, our grief journey, losing a spouse, like all that stuff, I am more than happy to answer your questions. Also, too, if there's any topics that you'd like me to cover on the show, I am open to that as well. You can DM me, ask me whatever topics you want me to cover, you want my opinion. That's all fine. So, thank you again, mamas, for tuning in. And until next time, mamas. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast and share with anyone who you think may enjoy it. And follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. Also, feel free to DM me if you have any experiences, opinions, or views on motherhood you'd like me to share on the podcast. Until next time, mamas.